if I had known this, my life would have been so much easier. This is ridiculous. Ahoy! I've just come back from Venezuela, which is obviously a very different kind of country and very interesting to be in. And I was thinking to myself, if only I knew before I went what I know now, how easier my life would have been. So I thought, why not make a different kind of video than I usually make and pass on everything I learnt about Venezuela to you, in case you're thinking of going or you're just interested. By the way, I loved it there. I ignored all the travel advisories and it's the best thing I ever did. So stay tuned, there's good stuff coming. I'm going to break it down into 6 different categories. First one is money, then danger, then language, transport, accommodation, and then a few of my own personal recommendations at the end. Money. Oh, if I had known this, my life would have been so much easier. I was extremely stressed out and had a nightmare with this side of things. So basically, there are 0 ATMs that a tourist can use in Venezuela. 0. Do not go there and expect to be able to just use an ATM like we do here in the UK or anywhere else for that matter. You just can't. From what I can gather, even Venezuelan people born and raised there, citizens and residents who have the actual Venezuelan bank cards themselves, can only withdraw the local currency equivalent of about $10 per day, which doesn't get you very far at all. So there I was, I took $200 to see me through the first week, thinking I'd just go and use an ATM. Then my hosts, Peter and Tisbeth in Valencia, said to me, you can't use an ATM. I said, sorry? They said, no ATMs, you can't use an ATM. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? So then I had to download an app called MoneyGram, or Western Union, there's a few different ones, and I had to then pull money from my UK account over into my app, pass the security checks, upload documents, utility bills, passport photos, make a little video for security reasons, and then send her, through her ID and her account, that money into US dollars, which then she had to go and drive all the way across town. Thank you so much, Tisbeth, angel. She drove all the way across town to go and collect that, and then change that into lower denomination bills for me, and then bring it back to me. And I was just like, what the hell was that? So once you've done that, messed around, and you've got your money. So let's just say whether you brought it with you or you've gone and done a transfer like I have, you've got your money. Now the chances are they're going to be big denominations, right? Because that's what happens. But the problem is that nobody wants big denominations. It's a nightmare, this. And again, I just didn't understand because I didn't realize. So when you're in Venezuela and you want to pay for something, they hate the big bills. They hate them. So people stockpile $1 bills and $5 bills. Those are the best ones. $1 and $5, just keep those and try to collect them if you can and get rid of your big bills somehow. The only way I found to spend big bills like the hundreds and the 50s was on accommodation that came to the big numbers. So if you have a hotel and it comes to 120, you could probably get away with giving them 100 and a 50, and then they only have to find 30 change. But a lot of the time you're going to have a really awkward like standoff because they really don't like them. And then of course they claim to not have any change, even on a bus. So say for example a bus journey is $2 and I give them a 10 or a 20, they're not happy about it, and then they'll give it to you back and they'll say smaller, and it's like, hey, this bus has been going around town for like 6 hours with about 50 people on every time. I know for a fact you are wedged in your pocket. Just give me the fucking change, you know? But it doesn't work like that. It's really awkward. So take as many low denominations as you possibly can. So at this point, we've got cash and we've got low denominations, and here comes the third obstacle. This is ridiculous. I still just don't believe what goes on there with this. So they inspect every single piece of paper money you give them meticulously. You just, $1, a bus ride could be $1. So you just give them $1. Like, we don't pay attention to damage on notes over here unless it's blatantly obvious or destroyed or whatever. So over there, you just hand it over. There you go, mate, no problem. And then you do this. And they inspect every little bit of it like that, all the way around. And if there is a tiny imperfection, like this one here that I made earlier that I found, you see that little tear there? That little tear there, that would not be accepted. I didn't even know there was a tear on that. Who cares, right? They care. So Venezuelan locals much prefer the US dollar rather than the local currency because the local currency is so up and down and it's changing all the time. And I think the government even just knocked some zeros off to solve some of the problems, which mean that not everybody's sure of what the paper money is actually worth. I thought I had $70 in my wallet one day in local currency, but it turned out I had 70 cents, which was a bit of a kick in the balls. Yeah, that was annoying. So now we've got the cash, we've got the right denominations in the right currency, and they're all in good nick. So, spending it. Things are a lot more expensive than I thought over there, a hell of a lot more expensive. Obviously the economy goes up and down, it's a bit crazy, and I don't understand or pretend to understand any of it. All I know is that things were a lot more expensive than I anticipated, especially grocery wise. Just little things like, a packet of peanuts. $5 for a packet of peanuts that would usually cost me about £1 in the UK or $1.50 in America. Grocery-wise, things were pretty much treble what I was used to, so that's worth bearing in mind too. So money naturally leads us into the next point, which is danger. There are all sorts of travel advisories for Venezuela, and I am so happy I ignored them all. Now, yes, common sense is a huge factor. Staying up on the coast is probably the safest place you could be, and there are rumours that down by the border, especially the Colombian one, are very dangerous, but I've also met loads of people who have done that, and there was no problem at all. So there is the usual scaremongering. I did not see one single thing at all in the whole time I was there that made me scared, worried, or not welcome by the country. I was greeted with open arms by everybody I met. They were helpful, kind, lovely people, and I am now a walking advertisement for visiting Venezuela. No, I am not an expert. No, I was not there a great length of time. And no, I did not explore the whole country. So obviously, I cannot speak on behalf of the entire country, far from it, but all I can do is tell you what I think and what I saw, and that was a safe, nice place with nice people. I stayed on the beaten track. I went to Caracas, Valencia, Chicha de Viche in the Morocoy National Park, and then to Choroni, which are all north, west and centre, and I encountered no issues whatsoever. The only thing that scared me a little bit was overhearing rumours about the police being corrupt, because apparently the police wage can be as little as $4 a month US. I mean, that's $1 a week. So with that horrendously bad pay, kind of breeds corruption because they have to feed their families and live, exist. And where, like I said earlier, a packet of peanuts can cost $4, that's just very hard to believe for me. And it was just things I overheard from fellow travellers in hotels and stuff. But police can, and I have heard of them just stopping buses and ransacking them and going through people's bags and taking the cash from tourists. Not so much electronical devices like phones or anything, but just taking cash where they can get it. And that's the only thing that I was a little bit wary of, but didn't encounter firsthand. So given what I've said about potentially having a lot of low denomination bills on you for your entire trip all at once, there are a couple of precautions you can take to give yourself additional peace of mind, to ease the anxiety and paranoia, etc. And for me, that is having a money belt underneath my shirt. And also this is fantastic. That has a little clip there that can hold quite a bit, and they can stash that on the inside of your belt. Oh, there's something in there. Oh, it's the zip. Standard. That's the story of my life. It's the zip. Fuck's sake. Anyway, that can go on the inside, and they'll never find that. So, you can do that if you'd like. I had both these on. I took them off within a week because I felt just safe. Language. So I have lived in Spain and I have visited a lot of countries that speak Spanish, and I have not learnt enough. This was no bueno for me. You cannot get by with English. A couple of my hosts spoke English, which was amazing, but for the most part, English is not known in the areas that I went to, and it was all down to me to communicate in Spanish. So that was an issue. I know, very broken, bad, poorly executed Spanish. Oh, it's so embarrassing. So a little trick I've learned is when you are connected to Wi-Fi, which was pretty decent to be fair, the Wi-Fi over there, you think about what you're doing the following day, think of scenarios you may encounter and messages that you might need to translate, but offline. So go on Google Translate the day before and put into Google Translate things that you think you may need or may come in handy the following day when you won't have connectivity, and then translate them through Google, screenshot them, and then you can just present them as and when needed the following day. That's a really helpful little thing that I was doing a lot. And then you can apply that same principle to downloading offline Google Maps, meaning that the next day, if you do get lost, then you don't have to encounter an awkward and horrendous language barrier conversation trying to get yourself out of trouble. You just get your phone out and Bob's your uncle. Transport. So I did not catch any internal flights. I used buses everywhere. On a journey that looks like it may take about an hour's drive in a car on Google Maps in Venezuela will probably take about 5 or 6 hours catching multiple buses. So if you're going from one city to another city, you'll have to catch one to there, then another one to there, then another one to there. But you do get there in the end and it's dirt cheap. Literally every single bus fare I caught was between $1 to $5, usually 3 or 4, even if it took like 2 hours to go to one place and another 2 hours to go to the next. Buses is an emotional roller coaster. They look awful. They look like they're going to fall apart or just blow up halfway there. Rusty tin cans, buckets with rust, holes in the side, steam coming out of them, wires hanging out of the dashboard. It's very hard to believe they even move at all. But somehow they do. Not one broke down with me and I was getting bounced around all over the place and my knackers were taking a right hammering. My back was killing. But I just thought, you know what, when in Rome, this is how the locals do it. I completely immersed myself in it. I loved it. It was just getting bounced around all over the place. And when it comes to where to catch them, it's not very clear either. But this is where the people come in, and I cannot stress this enough. The people of Venezuela that I met personally were so kind and caring and helpful and nice and welcoming. I think they just really loved the idea of the fact that I'd ignored the advisories and just gone to visit their country. And in return, they were so helpful. They just, honestly, I would be standing at the wrong side of the street and someone would come up to me and ask me, you know, which direction, and I would say the name of the place, and they would take me across the other side of the street and put me onto the correct bus going in the right direction. That happened a few times. The bus stations, people are running around. It's like an ant's nest. It's crazy in the big bus stations, and all you have to do is say the word of where you're going, Choroni, si, Choroni. And then they just take you to the right bus and you get on. They don't even ask for any money. They just genuinely did want to help me. That was fantastic. The people of Venezuela were so nice to me. I really was very grateful for that. Unfortunately, there are no timetables for buses whatsoever. You just get to the bus stations, you get on the correct bus by saying the name of the place. It's usually written on a cardboard sheet in the front window, and then you get on and you just have to wait and wait and wait until it's full, and that can take up to an hour, and it's hot as hell in there. Obviously there's no air conditioning and the windows open a little bit, but all that does is let more boiling air inside, and it's like a little greenhouse with the glass and the sun hitting it, and I'm like, oh, it was so hot a couple of times. But then finally the bus fills up, the driver gets his money's worth, and then you set sail. But it can be hot doing that, so again, water. Make sure you've got plenty of water. So this happened 2 times to me. I got on a bus and I said I wanted to go to here. They said, okay, I pay, and then the bus stops short of where I need to be. Then they go, yeah, put me into a taxi. Then the taxi just drives me off to my final destination, and I'm thinking, oh Christ, a foreign taxi, here we go. How much is this guy going to rob me of this time, you know, because I've got bad experiences with foreign taxis. Anyway, I got to the final destination. He says, Aki, we're here. And then I went to give him the extra cash, like $5, and he said, no, it's included. So how honest is that? He could have easily taken that cash, and that happened twice. And both times I just gave them a couple of dollars to say thank you for the honesty. So when you get on a bus and you say you want to go somewhere and it stops short, don't panic. There'll be a taxi waiting and that will finish the journey for you, all within the original price. Can't say fairer than that. Accommodation. This is interesting. So apparently there are no cheap bunk bed hostel options across the whole country of Venezuela. What they do have are posadas. That's their equivalent of hotels, and the word posada apparently translates into the word inn/lodgings. And these are places you can stay which may have swimming pools, common areas, hammocks, and your money goes a long way there. I'm a solo budget traveller. I've got a strict £20 a night limit, especially on long trips. So I was pleasantly surprised to see how far my money went on posadas. I thought the easiest way to demonstrate this would be by using my phone and creating some YouTube shorts of various places I stayed during my time in Venezuela. There's an Airbnb in Caracas, a posada in Valencia, and a posada in Choroni, and these videos are awaiting you on the channel for your viewing pleasure. Each host was happy for me to film. I asked if I was okay to put the videos up onto YouTube Shorts for you to see. They said yes. They welcomed me with open arms. They were kind and helpful and welcoming. And that's another reason why my time in Venezuela was so special. And the final chapter, my personal recommendations to you. Now, obviously, a lot of this is covered on my channel in other videos. The AI 7-day itinerary video, which I loved doing. God, it was tiring, but it's ace. And then I've got lots and lots of shorts going up from caves to island hopping to boat trips to the cities to the towns and all sorts of stuff on there. So that's all there waiting for you. They're all highlights and I loved it all. But if there was a couple of things which I would say were absolute must-dos as far as I was concerned, again, only really exploring the northwest of the country, the Morocoy National Park and the islands surrounding there were amongst the most beautiful places I have ever seen in my life. In particular, Cayo Sombrero. It's famous up there for being heavenly, tropical paradise, and they are not kidding. There's a palm tree forest in the middle of this island which nearly made me weep. Tears of joy and awe. It is absolutely stunning and I loved it. Boat trips from a place called Hoku Turismo is a must. Lovely people, great value, honest as the day is long. The more people go on a boat, the cheaper it is, but they never exceed the maximum capacity price, which again is so honest and they're lovely people. My friends Peter and Tisbeth in Valencia have a wonderful posada. That's incredible. I'll put the link in the description for that. And also Choroni, the little fishing village, where you have to take a crazy bush ride around the mountains. I made a short on that, getting tossed around and bounced around. And then when you get to Choroni, there's a long beach surrounded by mountains with a different coloured sand. It's like dark yellow and the waves come in and give you a beating. It's really, really nice. Beautiful place, and that's called Playa Grande. And those are the highlights of where I went. But bottom line is, I recommend you go. Ignore the travel advisories, use common sense, and love Venezuela like I love Venezuela. I'll see you there.